Yes, you read that title correctly. I just got 5 more world records in Spyro the Dragon by completing all of the flight levels with one of these fucking things, a Dance Dance Revolution pad, and they are now officially verified, submitted, and confirmed on the leaderboards. First place dance pad world records. Now, unfortunately, there is not a Dance Dance Revolution pad leaderboard, so I have to submit to the individual level leaderboard the list. But it's not the placing on the leaderboard that matters. It's the world record that you achieve in your heart. It's the history that you change in gaming forever that really makes a difference in the world and in our hearts. And to that, I just want to say chug and cheers to that real quick. But before I get into this chug, I just want to say that I super want people to try to challenge my flight level times. I'm telling you guys, you can beat these Dance Dance Revolution pad times pretty easily if you just put in an hour or two each level, and I would love to see some competition happening for it. You can literally get one of these dance pads online, either a PS1, PS2 dance pad, or even a USB one for emulator. You can get them for like 20 bucks on Amazon. If that's beyond people's means, totally understandable. But to those who want a fun little speed competition, please consider trying to beat my times. I would love to see some competition for it. But that's not what this video is about. This video is actually going to be my Icy Flight tutorial, which I happen to have forgotten about after moving on from Dreamweavers. I'm almost done with the 120% tutorials, guys. I've been working on these for like over a year. You guys were there all the way back at the beginning, since before I even ever had world. In the time that I have been making these tutorials, I have gotten the world record, lost the world record, gotten another world record in any percent, then got the 120 world record, and then got 5 dance pad world records. So there's been a very eventful time, and we're getting near the end of these tutorials. But since we just got all these amazing new PBs in the flight levels, I figure now would be a great time to do the final flight level of 120%. This is going to be the Icy Flight tutorial. So without further ado, enjoy the video and cheers. All right, so here's the Icy Flight breakdown. This comes from my recent world record, 121.52. Now, this particular level happens near the end of the run. It's the last flight level, and I actually share some words live on the commentary from this run that I'm going to go ahead and show with you now. I'm going to scoot my camera down here, and we're going to take a look at what I have to say here. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I'm starting to get a little nervous here. This is like this is make it or break it at this point. Hardest levels in the run coming up. But you know what? I'm not afraid of my destiny. No matter what happens. Look at that shit. So I said, I'm not afraid of my destiny, no matter what happens. And you know what? That really, like, when you're at this point in the run, and you're this far into the level, we're going to go ahead and scoot back here and talk a little bit about some of these strategies. But when you're this far into the run, and, you know, everything's gone somewhat well, and things are going decently, I think from a mental standpoint, it's really arduous, you know, when you're putting yourself under more and more and more pressure, that you need to be able to say to yourself, you know, no matter what happens, it's okay. It's okay if I fucking throw the run. The hardest levels of the game are coming up after this. Lofty Castle, Jock, North Cove, all back to back. And so it's a very likely scenario that I will end up throwing the run like I've thrown many runs before and not close it out. So, you know, I don't know. I just wanted to share that with you guys because it really makes you cherish those little moments and cherish the sort of like the sort of game plan that you gave yourself, the emotional sort of. You have to say it like whatever happens, it's okay. And I want you to know that too. Like with whatever's going on in your life, whatever happens, it's gonna be okay, and you're gonna keep going forward no matter what happens. Now, anyways, on to the actual strats at this level. You gotta actually keep it basically. As we scoot through here, this movement's all very straightforward. You can hug the wall here. It's not really a big deal. In general, with flight levels, you're not really trying to hug the wall too hard. With these boxes, especially these couple back here, this one, these boxes that you have to fly up towards, and it's the same way in Night Flight. When you fly up towards a box, really make sure you're close enough to hit it. The tendency is to try to optimize this movement, over-optimize this movement where it's really unnecessary. You're going to find yourself missing boxes. Now, the real hard part about this level is in this little section right here. So let's just kind of watch this in slow-mo real quick. Now, you'll notice I'm already set up really well to the left side of this, this lamppost. It's because I have to make a very hard right here. So check it out. really hard, already turning hard right so that I can make this nice line into this chest. In fact, you can even set it up even further to the left and like give yourself a really nice wide kind of curve left to right, you know, boom, boom, kind of as you go for it. So there's that, kind of setting that box up nicely. And then immediately when we hit this, we're turning hard left again. And a lot of what's coming up here is going to be off screen. Now, again, we're keeping going with the hard left, so we want to be on the right side of this, coming down with a diagonal down left sort of input here. You can see on my joystick, I'm hard left, but also a little bit up, so that way I go downward. And I'm on the right side of the pole, so that way I can make this chest. This is the hard chest to hit. Make that chest and immediately crank it back to be able to hit this and hit the box on the other side. And so really, that little section right there, I would say is the hardest mechanically to do. But with a little bit of practice, if you know where everything is, you know, you try it a few times, especially, you know, if you don't have a good joystick or a good controller that doesn't really register the inputs all the way, you could definitely have trouble there. You definitely want to get all the way left or all the way up or all the way down when you're doing these inputs. And it's really hard to make some of these diagonal down turns like you're seeing back here. Like this diagonal downturn is a really tough one because sometimes even if you're a little bit off with this little input right here, you'll be going more hard left instead of down, you know, or something like that. So you really got to be constantly adjusting the inputs and be like, all right, okay, I'm low enough. Oh, another thing I want to mention is don't go too low here because you can see it's really easy to hit the edge of this platform and flop off. So make sure you don't go too low. You want to hit the box on the top of its shit and be turning up as you're hitting it. But you're noticing with all of these lampposts, I'm going to go all the way back and just play this in slow motion. You're noticing with all these lampposts and boxes, I'm already making adjustments for the next thing that I'm about to hit as I hit the thing that I'm hitting. So already turning left when I make that flame, setting up to the right. You see I really stall there. Already turning left. Now when I hit that, I'm already turning right. See what I'm saying? And these inputs take a moment to register. So really be preemptive with your turns here and you're going to be okay. Let's keep watching. You can also hit these last two lampposts on sort of further down in this area right here. Obviously, the further down you go, the riskier it is. I try to aim for like this little area right here. Yeah. Now, if you did all the movement good up to this point, you're going to have this train roughly in this spot. If you can go a little faster and have the train be on a more ideal line. If you go a little slower, then you might miss this train. That's totally okay. Don't worry about hitting this train. If the train's like about to go through the tunnel, don't go too far out of your way for it because it will show up easily later in the level. This train you can miss and it's okay.
A little behind the cycles.
Notice how I'm holding L2 here. Now pay attention. I'm going to slow-mo this part right here. I'm holding L2 because I want to see this train as early as possible. And again, I'm thinking in my mind like the train before the cycle it was on is going to, these trains are on global cycles. So if the train before was a little later than I'm used to, then that means this one's going to be a little closer. And if that train from before, I hit it nice and early, this one's going to be further back, right? Because they're all spaced evenly. So I'm holding L2 right here. So that way the camera doesn't get stuck on the wall and I can see the train as early as possible. Now, I flame this train. Now, take a look at these three guys right here. I'm going to actually scoot back. I'm going to number each of these guys. I'm going to call this guy number 3, number 2, and number 1 over here. And you can see the setup I'm doing for these guys. I'm going 1, 2, 3. But you can actually go in any order with those guys, and it really depends on how comfortable you feel with what you want to do after the train, how comfortable you feel with the train. A lot of players I know, I think Saboom, maybe Chris, they'll go straight for number 3 first, and then they'll hit number 3, then they'll go for number 1 and then hit number 2. So they'll do like a 3-1-2. Also, I've heard of a strat that Alex Des does where you go for 2 right away and then 1-3. So the possible combinations that are total, and by the way, these are all equally viable, equally fast. I would say it really comes down to your execution. That's going to determine which one's the fastest. So I say think about which one of these guys you want to go for and whether you want to go for a combination of 1-2-3, 3-1-2, or 2-1-3 for these guys. Hopefully I got those orders correct. But definitely play with them and see which cleanup you like the most. This is the one I like the most, is 1-2-3.
We'll see.
But it requires a hard turn to the left after the train, so which is why other people don't like it. Now, again, using the L2 shoulder button, this is something that a lot of runners don't do. Use the shoulder buttons in order to stop the camera from getting stuck on these walls, and so you can see the next enemy early coming out of here. Depending on how quickly you've completed the level up to this point and how clean your movement's been, this guy will either be higher if you're early, and it'll be lower if you're late. So as you do this level more and more, you'll get a feel for, okay, I'm a little late coming into this. I was very average here. So he was in a very average height, I would say here, very like on par with where I was at height-wise. But if you're really early, you have to crank up really at the last moment because you barely see him. Imagine if I wasn't using the camera here, you know, L2, you wouldn't be able to see him until he, you know, was right in front of you and you had to flame him. And so be thinking about your shoulder button usage so that way you just make the game easier for yourself. Don't push these guys' movement too hard. One thing I want to say about the helicopter guys is that they seem like they're going to be, they do raise and lower, but they seem like if you overly anticipate their raising and lowering, they don't go as high or low as you think. So anticipate that they're moving in one of those directions, but don't over anticipate and overcompensate for that because they're not going to be moving that hard. And if you miss one of these guys, make sure you give yourself a ton of room to go all the way into the mountain and turn around and give yourself that aerial space to like readjust. These are not easy guys to recover, so don't try pushing the movement on them too hard. And then if all goes well, this last train right here should be under the bridge or just about to come in under the bridge. You can see I didn't quite finish this level as early as I wanted to. I played it pretty safe with my strats, but if you push the movement, the train could be further back here, in which case it's very convenient to flame the barrels and do the animation skip where we bonk into a solid object, skipping the exit level animation right on the bridge there. Now, if you completed the level more slowly, the train is going to be further forward up here, in which case you're going to want to go dive bomb, try to go for a 90-degree dive, and flame those barrels at the last second as you crash into the train tracks in order to skip the animation. But if you're quick, you can do it against the bridge. If you're slow, you do it against the train tracks. And if you're super slow, you do it against the wall. Say if you miss an enemy or something, then you would destroy this last train on the wall right here. Also, talking about the first train of the level, that remember how I said you could skip that first train? That train would be recovered right here. If I would have missed that first train, then it would be coming right out of the tunnel right here. So I could just grab it right after this guy and then save that last train, the same last train we do normally. That first train would come out here if we didn't flame it right away. And it's very common that you're not fast enough to get that first train. So be ready with that backup. But besides that, that's pretty much everything with what is this, Icy Flight. And the final flight level of this tutorial, if you've watched all of my tutorials up to this point, I want to say thank you so much for caring about not just this game, but having the patience to listen to me rant about like little tiny micro strategies for, 20 minutes at a time, So I just want to say I love you and cheers. Good luck with your Spyro journey. And if you don't plan on speedrunning this game, it's all good. Just keep loving and keep hyping. And oh yeah, get that fucking DDR dance pad. And I'd like to see someone challenge my goddamn optimized dance pad flight level world records. But until then, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Cheers.
Damn.